Good morning, you guys. So today we're gonna be doing a get ready with me. I just woke up super early. I took a shower and now I'm ready to do my makeup, so hopefully this video is not too long. Hopefully I'm able to talk through the video because I'm not a morning person. I do not like talking when it's in the morning. I just feel like a zombie. The only thing that brings me joy is literally putting on makeup and getting a latte. As long as I have my makeup and my latte, then I'm off to a good start. But till the latte part, before that I just don't like interacting with humans at all. Once I get my latte, then after that, I become a verbal, friendly person. But before that, I'm just a walking zombie that's ready to strike at any point if somebody messes with me. So let me go ahead and start applying my makeup. So the first step that I do is I always use my essence. Before I apply anything else to my face, I put my SK2. And like I said in a previous video, I usually like to pour this into like a spray bottle and control the distribution of the product that way. So once I have my essence and it dries down, then I move on to the second part to the SK2, which is this facial treatment clean lotion. I just heard really good things about using these two things together. The essence is really good, but this is almost like a booster to it and to your skin. And I just started using this, but so far I really do like it. And because the formula is thicker, I don't have that much of an issue pouring it into my hand because I'm able to control it. The SK2, the essence, that is very liquidy. It's like water. So I do have more of an issue controlling that one. That's why I use the sprayer. But this formula with the clear lotion is actually a little bit thicker. So it does give me a little bit more control. So I don't mind pouring it into my hand. So I pour a little bit onto my hand, I warm it up, and then I just kind of dab it into my skin. And I've been doing this for almost 2 weeks, and as you can tell, only this much has been wasted, so that will last me a couple of months. So after that, I usually apply my SPF. I'm using my Cicatricure SPF 30. Okay, so this is what I used. This is really good to deep puff. It's technically supposed to be a pore minimizer, like a toner. It's a toning bar. So I kind of used it all over my face, but it's actually really nice and cold. It stays cold. I think it's because of the formula. It's cold to the touch. So when you put it on, it's kind of cold. So I just use it all over my face to tone and deep puff. So it's a pretty good product, and it's from e.l.f. It's super cheap. Alright, so I'm gonna prime my face using the Milk Primer. The Hydro Milk Primer. It's a really good primer. I really like it. I'm sure you guys seen it in other videos, and whatever they're saying, it's true. not a big Milk fan. Like I'm not a huge fan of their like products, although like I am a fan of like how they try to include everyone in the universe, you know, in their campaigns, which I think it's great. You know, equality is what this world needs besides world peace. And so they do a great job of doing that and advertising and showing that they support diversity. But a lot of the products are like a miss for me. Like they don't give me what I want. But this is actually a really good one. So good job, Milk. So moving on to the next thing. So now that I have my primer, my SPF, all of my good stuff like my essence, I'm ready to put makeup on. And today I'm gonna be doing exactly what I would do every day. I'm not gonna change it. And my makeup is not like that extra glamorous like YouTube makeup that everybody does. Like my makeup is still very like full coverage beat, but it's more in the natural, more like wearable side. At least for me is wearable. For some people it might be like, bitch, you're still beating your face. Like that's a lot of makeup. But I feel that it looks more like natural but beat, I would say. But you guys will be the judge of that. So the way that I start my makeup is by actually like color correcting my whole face to just have it be like one tone. And the way that I do that is by putting concealer to like cancel my darkness, and also I use like a stick foundation to do the same thing with my whole face, so it's one tone. And funny enough, the stick foundation that I use, you guys I think are gonna be very like shocked by the stick foundation. My favorite color correcting concealer is actually this one, the Age Rewind, the neutralizer. They changed their packaging, I've noticed that. I'm not sure why they did that. I like the old packaging, but this is the neutralizer. This is $150. So like, let me get my little mirror. And squeeze the product out. Okay. Okay, so that is how I do that. I leave it there for a few minutes, and since I cannot find my like hairband. I cannot find like my hairband because I like wearing a hairband. I don't know why, but I like the fantasy of a hairband when you're doing your makeup. So I just bought beanies from H&M because winter is coming, and they're pretty cheap. They're like $5.99 in California. I don't know if you can see that. Like the light is way too bright. Oh, I can't. Can you see it? It's $5.99. So I'll just use that. I'll just use the beanie as my hairband. I think the hairband, I put it in my dirty clothes hamper, and you don't want to, once they're there, I don't want to bring them out. I think that's gross. So I'm just gonna put my beanie on and look like a cholo. Live my cholo fantasy. Yeah, this will work as a hairband. I have to go and buy one though. I'll probably stop by like Daiso and pick up a few. They have really cute ones there. And they're only like $1.50, so you cannot beat $1.50 unless it were $1. But it makes me feel better if I pay $1.50 because I think that they're better quality at that point. So now I'm just gonna like blend everything out. Okay, so now that that's there, I'm gonna correct the rest of my face using the e.l.f. stick foundation. Now, as a stick foundation, I actually don't like this product, but for some reason one day I was like, I feel a little bit red on the face, and I had a little bit of like yellowness going on because of like the sun damage, and I'm like, I wonder if I can use this as like a priming color corrector, and then on top of that put my foundation, and it actually works really good that way. It works like amazing. It gives almost like an extra, like, it gives it like a more blendable base for foundation. It could be all in my head, but that's how I feel, so I've been doing that for a few months, and I usually just go crazy with it. Like, when it comes to makeup, I feel like the more the merrier, and I always look crazy before, like, it always looks kind of crazy right up until like the end. I'm not here to impress nobody, just to share my knowledge, which is not that much. I don't have that much knowledge, but the knowledge that I do have, I want to share it.
If you don't happen to love clitoral stimulation, that is perfectly fine. So the clitoris is one of my favorite topics to talk about, so I have to show you my life-size 3D model of the clitoris. This usually blows people's minds when I show it to them. So we tend to think of the clitoris as just this little nub of skin that we can see in between the labia, but actually it is this entire shape. So these portions of the clitoris extend up into the body. You can't see them, but you can stimulate them. So if you're not loving clitoral stimulation, it's very possible that you're not loving the kind of clitoral stimulation that either you're making or your partner is making. So in general, women like two categories of clitoral stimulation. Direct clitoral stimulation, which is where you're making direct contact with the head of the clitoris, that part that we can see, or indirect stimulation, where maybe you're stimulating around the sides of the clitoris, over the top of your labia. You're not directly touching it, but you're still stimulating it somehow. So try both kinds of stimulation and see if you happen to respond to one better than the other. But if you're trying a whole bunch of stuff and your clitoris just doesn't love the attention, that is perfectly okay too. You can find other parts of your body that feel more sensitive.
When I use the e.l.f. stick foundation, it almost gives me like a dewy base. And a lot of my foundations are matte because I have oily skin. And I think because the stick foundation has a little bit more of an oily finish, more of a dewy finish, or more of a natural finish, which includes a little bit of oiliness, like a little bit of shine, then I feel that that's probably the reason why it distributes really nice and evenly with my foundation. So that should be good. And I'm using this brush from Bare Minerals. I literally have no strokes from like the bristles because they're so packed. Like, it almost feels like a velvety like ball. Yeah, it feels like I have a ball of velvet and I'm just like using it to like just distribute my foundation everywhere. Okay, so now for foundation, I'm gonna be using my True Love, which is my Estee Lauder Double Wear. I'm gonna just put I'm gonna put 2 pumps of this into this little container, and I'm gonna mix. And I've been doing this lately because I've seen other YouTubes do it. I believe Jackie Aina was the one that started this, and thank you for starting this because this shit does work. So I'm gonna put like a few drops of the Versali. This one is called Skin Tune. So I'm gonna put some of the Versali Skin Tune into my foundation and mix it. So I'm gonna put a few drops in, or a whole lot. I'm extra, so I just put a bunch of it. And honestly, I feel that I just put equal amounts. I know it sounds scary, but I put, like, if I put 2 pumps of my Estee Lauder, then I try to cover that in this and then mix it. And it just gives you such a nice, like, coverage. Like, you don't notice it initially, but once your makeup sets into place, you do notice a very, very big difference that the foundation just looks a lot more like blurred and defined. So it just kind of looks like yeah, it looks almost like a filter on your skin. So that's how it looks. Oh. And it looks just like that, and then I just mix it. I usually just grab like a Q-tip. I have the Q-tips that have like 2 sides to it. Like, I use the fine tip side to blend it. So I'm gonna try my best not to talk too much during this video, so I can edit this shit a lot faster. But it's so hard. Like, now that you guys have me going, now I can't stop talking. And like that. That's what it ends up looking. And then I just dab it onto my skin. So I don't want to waste any product. So I'm going to use what's on the Q-tip. And then I'll throw it away later. And then I'm just going to dot it on my skin. So dot, 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 dot. And I usually keep dotting until I feel that I cannot dot no more. Okay, so we're gonna start with this, and then we'll probably add more, because literally I add a lot of foundation. And I blend it out.
Blend it, blend it, blend it. Yes, you are blending. Blending.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with a second round of foundation. But I'm just gonna spritz a little bit of hydration on my face. This is what I used. I usually use like the one from Sephora. I'll put it up here. I think it's from Aquafina. But I got this free on my Allure box the other day. Or the other month. And it's the same thing. It's just like, it's technically like water in an aerosol can. And I really do enjoy like spraying my face in between like the more crucial parts, kind of like the foundation and the concealer, and sometimes during the powders too, so it melts a little bit better. And since I'm gonna go in with a second layer of foundation, I really want to make sure that it doesn't dry the whole way. I want to leave it there a little bit so like what I have can kind of stabilize, but I don't want it to dry out. So usually what I do is I put a little bit of hydrating spray so it doesn't like dry the whole way. So I usually use like water, and I'll add a little bit of a dewy setting spray so it keeps everything going. I use the e.l.f. dewy setting spray. So I'm just gonna go with the beauty blender over it once again.
Blending. Yes, you are blending. Yes, you'll be touching. Like wine and babuji.
All right, let's go get our beef on.
And that malva pudding.
All right, thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. I think they're blending over there. Come now. Come now. They're blending over here.
Okay, and like I said, for all those judgmental people out there, this is how I do my makeup. There are no rules in makeup. If you have rules, they should only be applied to yourself. Okay, so now I'm going to put a little bit of concealer under my eyes. And usually I use a peachy concealer, and then one that's more like my skin tone, I would say, and another one that's a little bit brighter, and then one that's a little bit closer to my skin tone. I usually do it a little bit further away from the eye, like that. Ooh, I almost dropped my beauty blender. Ooh. Reflex like Catwoman. So now that I have that one, I use a lighter one closer to my eye to brighten things. So I use this one kind of in the corner of my eye, and then I use it a little bit here, and then I use it on my nose and right there. So this is like the lighter one, of course. And by the way, you guys, I have two beauty blenders. I use a beauty blender. One is for my foundation. I use one beauty blender for my foundation, and I use another beauty blender for all my concealing products. I think that kind of like helps a lot to make sure that you're not mixing and making like your makeup muddy, because I feel that when you use the same tool for different applications, you muddy the outcome. Like it tends to be a little bit more like muddy, and it's not the true color that you should be getting, if that makes sense. Like you're technically altering the formula by, you know, using something that has another product on it. But since concealers are all doing the same thing for me, like I usually make sure that I use like one beauty blender for the concealer, and I kind of already know like how my concealers work and how I layer them, so I don't have a problem with using one beauty blender for all my concealers. But I do think that for foundation, you should never use the same beauty blender for concealer and foundation. You should just use one strictly only for foundations. Okay. Voila! We are brightened. Okay, so now I'm gonna set my foundations and my concealer and everything. So I'm gonna be using this tiny little Laura Mercier. And the reason why I use this little tiny one is not because I'm cheap, because I actually had to give the big one that I had away to one of my friends, because I wasn't using it that much. I literally only used this to like bake my concealer. And it was such a waste of product because it's so big that I'm not gonna go through the whole jar by the time it starts expiring and looking crazy, because that's what a lot of people don't really get. Sometimes it's not that the product is gonna expire after like 12 months or 24 months. It's that as it's open and the air as it's open and the air hits it, the formula changes. Like, it's not gonna keep the original integrity of the product. The air changes things. So if it says this product is only good for like X amount of months, you could totally use it after those months. I mean, I've used products after the expiration, like after that month of expiration, but I can tell you that when I open a fresh new one, I can totally tell the difference between like my old one and the new one of the same product. And I think that's kind of like the reason why they put those little like 12 month, 24 months, whatever month on the jar, so you guys know like, oh, this product is gonna work pretty decently until like this month, and then after that, if you use it, we don't guarantee that it's gonna work the same. Oh, I'm sorry if my conversations are not that interesting today. Like, I'm just trying to, like I said, my brain is not really working, so I'm just going with the flow. And I'm gonna try to fast forward as much as I can. Oh, okay. So now that that's done, I'm gonna start technically contouring my face. So let's move on to that. And then I'm just gonna be listing everything that I'm using, because as you can tell, like, it seems that this is never ending. You know, there's products on top of products on top of products, but this is literally what I do every single morning. Every single morning. Like, at least 5 out of the 7 days of the week. Oh no. Oh no. It broke. It broke, but it didn't, like, went everywhere. Do you guys see that? It broke. Okay. Still good to use, though.
Blending. Yes, you are blending. Yes, you be touching. Like wine and babuji.
All right, let's go get our beef on.
And that mama pudding.
All right, thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. I think they're blending over there. Come now. Come now. They're blending over here. Yes. They are blending. They are bonding.
What you saw me doing there is I used 3 bronzers to kind of give myself a gradient, like, bronzing effect. I use 3 bronzers to contour and to add definition to my face. They all had slightly different colors of bronzer, and they also had different undertones. So I feel that to get a gradient, kind of like more natural, like sun-kissed look, you cannot just use one, because your face is not just like one tone everywhere. You have to almost do the darker on the rim of your face, and as you get closer, you have to get a little bit lighter. And of course, like on your nose, you have to kind of work your magic and contour with like a very light hand. But technically, that's my secret. I use 3 bronzers to contour my face. And then what I did after that is I use a peach blush, the lightest peach that I can find, that will make kind of like the edges of my bronzer and contour kind of blend in with the rest of my face, and that blush really does help with that. It gives it once again a kind of like a ombre gradient effect. And now I'm just applying my blush. Okay, it's a little bit harsh right now, but I'm going to tone it down with my finishing powders. But I have it where I want it. It's the one that I use. And right now I'm literally in a race against time because it's almost time for me to go and catch my BART train, or else I'm gonna be super late to work. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna kind of blend everything out using my finishing powder, which is the Hourglass finishing powder. This powder is amazing to kind of make everything become one. And kind of like I dab it and I swirl it. Swirl it, dab it. I'm gonna add a little bit of highlight, and this is my favorite highlight. It's almost a dupe to the Rihanna highlight. I forget what the name is, but it's like the diamond one, because it has the same consistency and it has a very similar sheen to it. So I'm just gonna take off the excess on the back of my hand because it gets really bright, and I don't want it to be extra bright. I just wanted to give me like a beam, kind of like a healthy beamy like sheen to my face. How it gives like a kind of almost like a glass effect to my face. I really like it. A little bit of highlight on the mustache. Show the mustache some love. Okay, we're good. I'm just gonna set my face at this point, and then I'm gonna do everything else when I get to work. Well, not really when I get to work. I'm gonna do everything else. I usually get to work a little bit early to finish doing my eyebrows and my eyelashes, and like doing the rest of like my eye makeup and my lips. So this is a true get ready with me. This is like legit a get ready with me, and I'm just gonna show you exactly what I do. I do my face at home, which as you can tell now, everything kind of looks a little bit more put together, and I'm half beat right now, and this is how I go out and get the fucking BART. And then once I get to my job, I just finish my eyes and my lips. So let me just set my face and then get going because I'm gonna be late. So to set my face, I still use a little bit of the Dewy Mist from e.l.f. Kind of just to melt everything together, and then I dry it using my blow dryer. Once that part is done, I use the CoverGirl Outlast Active Setting Spray. And I love this setting spray. It's amazing. It's almost like a dupe for the All Nighter from Urban Decay. But I use it on one of the e.l.f. bottles because I love the way that this sprays. I love the product on this one, but I prefer the mister on this one, so I just pour it in and I use it on this. Boom. It's literally budge proof. Like, it's locked in, dried out, set, and forgotten. So I'm gonna stop the recording right now. I'm gonna hop onto the BART station and So this is the final look, and now I have to go to the restroom and head on over to my desk so I can start working for that money, baby. So we'll see you next time.